Nissan has been teasing the long overdue next generation of Godzilla, the R36 GT-R. And let me tell you, it has been one hell of a tease. The current generation R35 GT-R has been withering away on the market for like 11 years. But after a whole decade, with the C8 coming out, it's kind of starting to lose its luster. And here in America, among some of us enthusiasts, it's even held in a lower regard than the older generations like the R32 GT-R. Hell, any generation GT-R might interest me more than an R35 at this point. Like, say for example, the R32 GT-R. Right now, the R32 GT-R is just about the best deal in driving a 90s Japanese JDM icon. With its no-nonsense aesthetic and unlimited tuning potential, you just cannot deny the power and respect that the RB26 DETT commands. Using 2 turbines to push out 276 horsepower, which were just insane numbers for the early 90s. And today, it's still a great car to look at, a great car to drive. It's no wonder that they're still commanding serious cash, like $30,000, which is about the price of a used R35 at this point. Which again makes the R32 versus R35 argument pretty tough to answer. Now one I might find a little easier to answer is its younger brother, the R33. Yeah, the R33 GT-R does exist. It's not many enthusiasts' favorite, but it is still a GT-R. That JDM middle child still comes with that screaming RB26, and it's even been boosted up to about 301 horsepower. American legal horsepower, by the way, because it is old enough to import, making it the newest GT-R you can buy right now. But the one we're all waiting for, the one that I would clearly take over an R35, is that R34 GT-R. In a few short years in America, we'll be able to finally drive and own the R34. And if you've got maple syrup pumping through your veins, you may just be lucky enough to own an R34 today. Up north, importing a car only requires that that car be 15 years or older, making the R34 a somewhat common sight on the streets of Vancouver, which is where I want to move so that I can own an R34. The R34 generation of the GT-R is the pinnacle of GT-R hype if you grew up on Anime and Initial D like I did. And it's often referred to as a PlayStation on wheels. And with models ranging from 327 to 493 horsepower, this is finally the generation of Godzilla that gave supercar owners a good view of those 4 round red taillights when they went to a drag race. And you know what else? This is finally the generation of Skyline cool enough for the squid to wear a shirt of, huh? Hey, check it out. Buy one, up here. There's probably a little shirt right here. Click on it. And now the most modern GT-R that you can actually own, the R35. That's right, in 2008, Godzilla finally came stomping onto American shores with the R35 GT-R. Now, it's seen some updates since then, but we're definitely near the tail end of the R35's production. Some would say it's kind of past its best buy date. But it has been updated enough to keep the performance figures competitive in the market, especially at its price tag. Now, the good news is Nissan has said it's retiring the R35 in a couple of years, and it's gonna send it out with a bang, or two. Now, one such example is a car known as the GT-R50, a partnership between Nissan and Ital Design that is a no-limits reimagining of a GT-R with a little bit of a European flair, but still underneath packing in the pinnacle of Japanese performance and engineering. And can I just say, yes please. I mean, just look at it. The 50 in the GT-R50 name signifies a celebration of 50 years of the GT-R mark. Sadly, the 50 in GT-R50 also stands for there only being 50 examples of this being made. And I get it, exclusivity makes the car special, but damn it, I want one of these so bad. And it sucks to know that it's gonna be basically impossible by the time I'm wealthy enough to even afford a used one. These are going to be collector's items on day one. And the GT-R50 isn't just a pretty Italian body kit. Oh no. Under the hood will be the ultimate iteration of the VR38 DETT that powers the GT-R, pushed to its absolute limits at 700 horsepower. It also gets upgraded Brembo brakes and Bilstein suspension. It really is a shame that all of these are gonna end up in collectors' garages and museums and only taking on like Concours d'Elegance, because I bet these are just a blast to drive. And that exclusivity is really coming at a cost. Only one of these has been made so far, and it cost the owner a staggering $1 million to get it. That's right, $1 million for a Japanese sports car. And what's crazy is that's kind of a steal, because these are probably gonna be worth triple that in a few years. Luckily, that is not the only GT-R powered by this engine that is in the works. Nissan has also promised the Final Edition GT-R, which will be the last R35s made to come as the R35 generation wraps up. Good news, the Final Edition is a hell of a lot cheaper than the GT-R50. And that's because while it still comes with that fancy engine, it doesn't have all the fancy Italian bodywork strapped onto it. But here's the bad news. It's even more rare than the GT-R50. There will only be 20 Final Edition GT-Rs that come off the line in Japan, and they will cost a hefty 40 million yen, or about $375,000 US, which is serious cash. But considering the amount that every older used generation of GT-R is commanding on the market, it's probably a pretty strong prediction that with how exclusive these are, they won't lose $1 in 10 years. And again, it's probably a wise investment, so of course, people like you and me aren't gonna buy them. Rich dudes with garages that keep them wrapped up in a blanket will buy them. And with the Final Edition out the door, that brings us to the newest generation of GT-R, the R36, that is still 2 years off. Now, we don't know a ton about the upcoming R36, but a lot of reputable sources are saying that it'll probably be powered by a hybrid power plant inspired by Nissan's Le Mans race car. The benefit here, of course, is the instant torque that those electric motors are going to deliver, which, if you remember back when the R35 came out, instantaneous launching was kind of the name of the game. It blew the doors off of everything at the time. And that instant torque definitely makes up for any turbo lag that the current generation is facing. And those electric motors are just one part of a hybrid drivetrain that would center around a turbocharged engine. Once the turbo, or turbos, spool up, those electric motors will still provide assistance to the gasoline motor, providing for even more horsepower. Realistically, based on where the R35 is now, and where we see the hybrid power plant space being in the next few years, we can likely expect the R36 GT-R to deliver around 600 horsepower, which puts it in competition with cars like the Audi R8, Mercedes-Benz AMG GT-R, and BMW's M8. Yeah, hybrids are not just for Ubers anymore. Hypercars out there on the market right now from big players like Ferrari and McLaren are already using hybrid powertrains. But it's also worth noting that adding that hybrid powertrain is probably going to make R36 be a little bit heavier than the R35, which the R35 is already kind of a hefty boy. Adding to this weight controversy will be the also ever-tightening safety restrictions that are required by every manufacturer, like stuffing in a bunch of driver assists, adaptive cruise control, pedestrian detection, and more. All of this adds added weight and complexity to every new car coming out, and so we can expect all that weight and complexity out of the new GT-R. Weight aside, and speed aside, another advantage of this hybrid powertrain is going to be fuel efficiency to come out of the GT-R. Not that anyone really cares about what miles per gallon you get in a frickin' GT-R, but it definitely adds up as an owner. The current generation GT-R, you're looking at getting about 12 miles per gallon in the city, which, with the GT-R being kind of the penny pincher's supercar, you're probably actually thinking about cost of ownership and driving when you buy one. Now, how the upcoming R36 generation is actually going to look, that's a big discussion. If we follow some of the hints and trends that Nissan's been following and putting out there, it's not too hard to guess what it might look like. Nissan unveiled the Vision Gran Turismo concept earlier this year. You know, like before the world shut down? I mean, it's little more than a wildly styled concept car at this point, but you can almost guarantee that the visual cues in that design will probably trickle down to the GT-R. Nissan's current V-Motion grille is probably the biggest giveaway. And those long, sharp headlights going up the hood of the car are obviously an evolutionary move for the new R36. With a profile reminiscent of the Lexus LC500, which isn't a bad thing, those slow-slung supercar proportions are definitely something Nissan should be going for. The Vision Gran Turismo also kind of evokes the C8 Corvette, which means it's possible, although not likely, the new GT-R might be mid-engined. What's more likely is the space behind the cockpit is going to house the electric motors and battery pack. It's also very unlikely the new Skyline will only have 2 seats, but you know, anything is possible. Now, this is all conjecture. What do we actually know? Using a little elimination and logic, it's easy to figure out a few key points. The R36 GT-R will likely be on the road and in our hands by 2022 or 2023. And with this timeline, they can let the R35 age out gracefully with some special additions. We're also pretty sure it's gonna have that hybrid power plant, probably paired with a twin-turbo V6. Probably making 600 horsepower, with Nismo additions maybe coming with 700. We can definitely expect the price point to be close to that $100,000 mark, which when you compare all the other cars in its competition, is actually a steal. And that's what the GT-R has been best at, is coming in as a value proposition. It's likely to be an absolute discount compared to the Lambos and Ferraris it'll be beating at the Nürburgring. All told, we are super happy to see the R35 finally retire, and are really excited about what the R36 GT-R is bringing to us. And what about you? Are you excited about the new GT-R? Or what are your favorite GT-R generations of the past? Let us know down below. Also hit the subscribe button, turn on the little bell, like the video, and watch some more videos from Ideal. And as always, keep living the ideal lifestyle.